Don't mind me, just watering my cactus. Hey guys, it's Steve and I, and welcome back to Weird Library Stories. In today's episode, you will hear about theft, copy machines, and tubs of butter. This is a series where I tell all kinds of weird stories about working with the public at my job at the library. In case you've missed the first 5, 6, I don't know. They've been stolen! I was at the reference desk and a man came up to me and he asked, do you have the movie La Mission? Yeah, it might be Spanish, I don't know. La Mission. And I looked in the computer and it said we had a copy, not at this library, but at another branch. And so I go to try to put it on hold for him and I realize, wait a second, this book says lost. And the other one says missing. And then there's a third one that says lost, which means they were stolen. So I had to tell this guy, I'm sorry, we used to have this movie, but they were all stolen. All 3 copies were stolen. And he was like, what? Well, do you at least have the book version? And I'm like, okay, let me look. And I find it. And I'm like, yes, at least I can get him the book. And it says lost. And I'm like, are you serious right now? So again, I have to tell him, I'm sorry, we don't have it. And he was like, darn book thieves. Double trouble. This is another one to do with theft. Man came into the library. I wasn't actually helping him. Someone at the other end of the desk was helping him, but I could hear the conversation. And he said, you remember the last time you saw me? I came in because there was a book I had to replace because my car got stolen and the book was in it. And the person was like, yeah, I remember that. And he's like, well, I got it back. And she's like, oh, great. I said, but I still need to replace it because my car got stolen again. Your car got stolen for a second time? The same car with the book still in it? And he's like, yeah, Pokemon card thief. One evening when we were about to close right after family night, all the fun craft and dancing and story reading, in the hubbub, 2 little kids lost some things. And they come to the front desk and they're like, has anyone turned in a wallet with a Pikachu? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, they haven't. I look in the lost and found and I can't find it anywhere. I help them look around the children's room. I can't find it. And I'm like, sorry. I mean, the girl's 8. She probably doesn't have much in her wallet. So I'm not really that concerned about it. But then they say, also, my brother lost his Pokemon cards. And I was like, okay, how many? Like 2? And she was like, no, the whole deck. Before I was like, oh, who cares? It's a kid. She doesn't have anything in her wallet. But now I was like, who would steal a child's whole deck of Pokemon cards? But we didn't find it, unfortunately. Made me really angry. You should know, you work in a library. I have another story that has nothing to do with being in the library, but I was talking to a man about the library when I was at a party of some family friends. And he comes into the room while we're watching a movie. And so we paused the movie and we're like, what's up? And he was like, do you know anything about this? Apparently he had been metal detecting and he found an old cross. It looked just like a beat up old piece of jewelry that had lost its chain or something. And he's like, where is this from? Is this from some kind of ancient culture? Does it have history or roots in something important? And I'm like, I don't know. It looks like a normal cross to me. I don't know anything about that kind of historical dating or identification. He was like, you should know. You work at a library. You have books everywhere and you don't know this? And I was like, no, sir, I haven't memorized every book in the library. Working on it, though. Printing. Not printing. A man comes up to the front desk. This sounds like a cheesy joke I'm setting up. It's not a cheesy joke. A man comes up to the front desk, and he says, can you cancel the printing that I sent? Because I don't want it. And I'm like, okay, may I see your library card, please? And he hands it to me. And I'm like, okay, so you had 25 pages. He's like, yes, but I don't want it. I'm sorry that you printed it, but I can't pay for it. I don't want it. And I'm like, no, we didn't print it yet. We printed after you paid for it. I'll just cancel it. And he's like, you can do that? And I was like, yes, it's canceled. Don't worry about it. He's like, okay, maybe I do want to print them. No. I don't want to print them. I'm going. I have something to do. Goodbye. Okay. And he walks out the door. About half an hour later, I'm still at the front desk in the same spot. He comes back up and he's like, okay, I'm printing. I'm like, okay. I take his card. He's printing the same 25 pages. And I'm like, so you do want the printing? And he's like, yeah, I decided I did want the printing.
Wads of cash.
Another guy on a separate day comes up to me and he has a fine on his card. It's like $1.50. It's not a big fine. As long as the fine's below $5, it doesn't affect your ability to check anything out. But he wanted to pay off this fine. He's like, okay, I want to pay this fine off. Let me get some money. And he pulls out his wallet, and he's flipping. He takes this big wad of cash out, hundreds of dollars in 20s. And he's like, here you go. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't break a 20, sir, for like $1.50. Can you give me something smaller? And he's like, oh, let me find my money. He's flipping through this huge wad of cash. And I'm just like, wow, you really shouldn't get that out in the library, dude. Eventually, I think we just decided he would pay his fine later.
For reference only.
Just the other day, I had a woman call on the phone and ask me to look up her account because there was a problem with it. So I look up her account, and she says, the book I just checked out yesterday, I looked online and it says it's due today. Like, I only got 1 day with it. Usually they check out for 2 weeks. What's wrong here? And I was like, okay, what's the problem? I open up the item record. This book is from reference. You cannot check out the books from the reference section of the library. You use them in the library, and then you give them back. How on earth did she check out a reference book? The computer pops up with a window that says, you cannot check this out, it's in reference. How did it get past that? I looked a little more through the record, and I can't figure out why it happened, but I just told her, I'm gonna try to renew it for you, and you can just bring it in when you can. And she was like, okay, so I tried to renew it, only gives her 1 day, gives her to the very next day, and I'm like, this does not help at all, but apparently she was able to come in by the next day to turn it back in. She said it was shelved with the normal nonfiction and that the reference label was covered over with a white label, which is typically something we would do if we want to get something circulated that's not being used in the reference section, but it hadn't been changed in the computer, and that was a problem. I don't know if I'll ever get to hear the end of that story. Stay tuned.